Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So I'm going to wait a few minutes for people to join before I get started with this live stream. And while we wait, I want to encourage people to follow me on Facebook, like my Facebook page, New Possibilities. Also, I want to encourage you to follow me on Twitter at New Poss Blog. That's new, and Poss is spelled Poss blog. So I hope that you all can follow me on Twitter and like my Facebook page. I plan to do exclusive content on my Facebook page soon, so I want you all to look out for that. I'm in the process of working with my Zoom account so that I can live stream on Facebook. Also, I could do it with this as well. So I'm going to probably do simulcast and other types of exclusive content on my Facebook page. So I need to have you all follow me on Facebook, like that page, follow me on Twitter. So there's a wide range of things that I'm going to talk about tonight. I did an earlier live stream about Donald Trump and COVID-19. If you missed it, I encourage you all to check that out. And I did an earlier video about Daniel Cameron. He's the Attorney General in Kentucky. And I'm going to redo that particular live stream. I'm going to redo it right after this one because there were some issues with the live stream. So I hope that you all can check that out. So let's get right into it. Yesterday, Megan Thee Stallion performed her song Savage on Saturday Night Live. And it wasn't just her singing her regular song. She added some powerful political statements before she got into her performance, before she actually started to perform this song, Savage. Now, she featured Malcolm X talking about Black women, about how Black women are the least respected and protected members of society. So she played excerpts from Malcolm X's very famous speech. And while his speech was playing, she actually used a backdrop where it depicted bullet holes breaking through glass. And then at some point, it shows blood oozing down from those bullet holes. And in addition to playing Malcolm X, they also played excerpts from Tamika Mallory's speech where she blasts Daniel Cameron and calls him a sellout. And so after those audios play, Megan Thee Stallion makes her own statement, and she talks about how we need to love and protect Black women. And then she also goes on to talk about how we need to love and protect Black men as well. She talked about the hashtags, about police brutality, and she made a powerful statement with this performance. And another thing that has to be mentioned in the excerpt from Malcolm X's speech is that it talked about how we've been taught to hate ourselves. You know, that famous clip where he's talking about how we've been taught to hate our hair, our features, our African Black features and all that kind of stuff. So it was a powerful message that this woman added to her performance. And the thing that's so important about this is the fact that she was able to reach millions of people with this powerful message about the need to protect Black women and the need to basically fight against police brutality. So I have to commend her for using her voice to add to the voice of protest in this country, to use her voice to call for solidarity between Black men and Black women, and also to call for the respect of Black women. And this comes at a very important time because, and Daniel Cameron, for those of you who don't know, he's the Attorney General who failed to aggressively prosecute those police officers who killed Breonna Taylor. So that's the reason why, she included excerpts of Tamika Mallory blasting that guy, because he literally failed to protect Black women, a Black woman in particular, Breonna Taylor. when he could have aggressively pursued that case. And I'm going to redo my video, as I mentioned before, and that will go into more detail about his failure to take appropriate action to vindicate that sister and to get justice for her and her family. So that's one component of it. And then you also have the underlying message that deals with Megan Thee Stallion's own issues. Like Megan Thee Stallion was shot not too long ago. And she has pointed out that this rapper by the name of Tory Lanez is the one who shot her. He shot her, and a lot of people were joking about it on social media. They did not take it seriously. You had a lot of Black women actually joking about it. You had 50 Cent putting out memes clowning her. And then she did a live stream, on Instagram where she talked about what she went through. She talked about the suffering that she went through and just the whole ordeal. And then people like 50 Cent began to take this thing seriously. 50 Cent apologized. But I think that whole situation is a prime example of how Black women are not respected. Here you have, and protected. Here you have a woman who was shot in the foot, and people thought that was humorous. They thought that it was a joke and everything. And that just speaks to the lack of respect for Black women in this society. So that's something that I had to point out. Another thing that's very important is that in Malcolm X's speech, he talked about us being taught to hate ourselves. He talked about how we've been taught to hate our hair, to hate our skin, to hate our nose, to hate ourselves from our head to our toes. We've been programmed that way. And I'm glad to see that this sister is moving towards some kind of consciousness, because you all know I did a prior video where I was talking about that song WAP and about how it degraded and demeaned women and exploited women. And it promoted basically thought culture, this culture of promiscuity and, just utter disrespect and, utter immorality and all that kind of stuff. So I talked about that. And I think that it's good to see her move along. And hopefully this is not just some once in a lifetime type of message that she's putting out. Hopefully she will incorporate more consciousness in her music, just as others have done, like other artists who started off with one kind of message, evolved their message. One of the first artists that I can recall doing something like that was Ice Cube. Ice Cube started off as a hardcore gangster rapper and all that kind of stuff. And later he politicized his messaging. Even when he was in NWA, even when he was promoting that so-called gangster rap and stuff like that, even that music had political undertones to it, like the song Fuck the Police, a song that was so relevant back then and is even more relevant today, because we have more of these videos capturing what has already been occurring, and that's this grotesque police brutality that plagues our community. So you had this brother evolve, so he went from one stage, the gangster rap stage, to a more politically aware stage. And you have an artist like T.I., for instance, going that same kind of route, going from glorifying, the drug lifestyle to talking about things that matter to the community, issues that are pro-Black and deal with Black consciousness. So he's moved in that direction. Even people like Jay-Z, for instance, here was a guy who celebrated selling drugs in his music, celebrated violence in his music, celebrated misogyny in his music, but his music has matured with his age. He has, collaborated with Jay Electronica on very conscious music, music taking the art form to a whole nother level in terms of consciousness. So that's another example of someone moving in that direction. Even a Kendrick Lamar, like his very first mainstream album didn't deal anything with consciousness. But his second album, To Pimp a Butterfly, you know, deals with consciousness. He has songs like All Right, you know, where he's talking about how we need to stand up and everything's going to be all right. So it's great to see these artists evolve from a lower state to a higher state of consciousness, from a lower vibration to a higher vibration. And I hope that's the case with this sister. You know, so just as I speak out against artists when they do things that I disagree with, I also have to commend them rather when they do something that is positive. And I think it's great that this sister used her voice to call for respect of Black women, to call for the protection of Black women, and to also speak out against police brutality against Black men and Black women. So I have nothing but respect for that. But I think that this whole issue of respect that the brother Malcolm X was talking about starts with self. We need to love ourselves and respect ourselves. And when you respect yourself, you don't debase yourself. You don't turn yourself into a sexual object just so you can sell music. So I hope that eventually she comes to understand that and moves to another level with her art. Because it's easy for people to just sell sexuality and stuff like that, to sell their sexiness, to sell their body and all that kind of stuff. That's easy. It's easy to get people to buy your product based on how you look or based on your sex appeal and stuff like that. It's more of a challenge for somebody to sell something based solely on their talent, based solely on their artistic expression. And it just makes me think of people like a Lauryn Hill. You know, even though she was sexy in her own way, she didn't objectify herself to move music. She produced a great product. You know, she produced quality lyrics, great vocals, and just all around a great performance. So because of that, she was able to have major success, winning all kinds of Grammys without selling her soul to the devil like a lot of these people do. And I'm not talking about like the devil in terms of like just some spiritual type stuff. I'm talking about like selling out, where you are willing to sell your integrity for dollars and fame, where you're willing to sell your pride for dollars and fame. And it's just great to see artists that are true artists that can sell their art without literally selling their soul and selling their body. And so hopefully the sister evolves to that point where she learns self-respect. You know, when you respect yourself, you don't debase yourself the way she did in that song WAP and all that kind of stuff. So this is something that I have to commend. And I appreciate you all for tuning in. So let's see. So I'm going to respond to a couple of comments here. So Cohen says, how are Black women not protected? What was Breonna's boyfriend doing when the police started shooting? You know, so yeah, he did try to protect her. He did try to protect her, and that's something that's commendable. And you have Black people out in the streets fighting to protect women, you know, the rights of women to speak out, you know, protesting to speak out against police brutality, protesting for change. So you do have a lot of people that are defending and standing up for Black women, a lot of people loving Black women and expressing that love. And that has to be commended. But I think that what she was speaking to is Daniel Cameron, and he is the Kentucky Attorney General who failed to aggressively prosecute the case involving the killing of Breonna Taylor. That's what she's talking about. And also it deals with the whole say her name issue, you know, where a lot of women activists feel like men are not doing enough to advocate for women victims of police brutality. And I think that that's a legitimate criticism. You know, while I know there are lots of men that protest on behalf of women that have spoken out around this Breonna Taylor case. Unfortunately, sometimes, the cases involving women do not receive the kind of attention that they deserve. So I think that there is an issue with protecting Black women. I mean, there are plenty of Black men that do it. There are great examples of Black men that protect Black women, but there are cases where Black women are not protected and respected the way they should be. And we can see that here on YouTube. There are prime examples of it. Like, you have many channels here on YouTube that are dedicated to bashing Black women, disrespecting Black women, calling Black women all kinds of names and all kinds of things. And a lot of those channels are some of the most popular channels here on YouTube. So that's an example of Black women not being respected and Black women not being protected. Yeah, so I see that someone else agreed that we need to protect Black women. And we do. I think that, again, many of us do, but more of us need to. It makes no sense, with respect to this Daniel Cameron situation and the way he handled that case. So I'm going to go back, and redo the live stream dealing with Daniel Cameron, where I go into more detail about his failure to prosecute in that case. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content on here. Peace and blessings, everyone. Have a great evening, and stay tuned because I have more videos for you tonight. Peace.